Hello and welcome to HEXATalk, the industry refresher powered by Hexanica. This week, we are joined by our partner, Hania Arbus McCarthy, who is the managing director of Gladcliffe Consulting. Gladcliffe specializes in risk, controls, and internal audit within the financial services space. If you want to know more about Gladcliffe Consulting, we will attach a link to their website. Today's discussion would be around the experience at ICBA Live and the key takeaways of ICBA Live event of 2022. Hania represented Hexanica and Gladcliffe at the event from 27th February to 3rd March. So welcome Hania again, and let's start talking about ICBA Live. What was your experience like? I believe you attended it for the first time, so please go on.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, as always, Yogesh, for having me, and really thrilled about our collaboration in this space. ICBA was just fantastic. It's definitely not my first conference over the years, but may actually start becoming a standard on the rotation. The energy was phenomenal. The attendees were both energized and energizing. The content was outstanding, and I was so impressed with their faithful following of their mission to serve their communities, starting with their people. Number of really great key themes came out of what they were presenting, what they were talking about, both at the very impressive general sessions as well as the individual breakout rooms. A huge amount of focus around data and digitalization, upskilling of their teams, as well as really a laser focus on staying on the cutting edge of technology and innovation. There were a bunch of really great innovation labs.
Absolutely. And ICBA does an outstanding job of doing all these things. I also looked at the agenda, which had innovation data in it, which had agricultural lending, which is very focused on communities that these banks serve, and also the new topic of ESG. Any view on any particular topic that perhaps you thought was more interesting, especially for community banks than less, and how are they picking up these individual topics?
Yogesh, there were a variety of topics, I think, that really emerged as overreaching, right? One of them, data and digitalization. Agricultural lending, I think, is pretty critical in a number of the communities that are serviced by community banks, as well as ESG. Really thrilled to see the focus on ESG as it's cutting edge. The larger banks have been very active in the space, and it's really great to see it also happening at the community banking level. ICBA itself is incredibly impressive in its championing of the cause and this particular constituency in Washington. I believe they also have a specialized session around their governmental activity taking place, I think, shortly.
Absolutely. And it seems that these topics are well taken by the community banks. Perhaps they may need some hand holding initially on new topics as to what does ESG mean, how they can get involved in ESG, whether it's in for them or not. And Hania, at Hexanica, we have upcoming webinars including compliance and ESG, whether it's related or not related. And banks don't realize today that they are already doing ESG in some of the other ways. So bringing that to their attention is very, very, very important. It's something, the new word should not scare them, because they unknowingly are doing it, and also knowingly can start talking to their customers about ESG and this topic. Also, as you know, data-driven audit is very important. So data innovation, combining innovation and data, you could have the most automated methods of auditing to help community banks, especially from their operational or risk management perspective. So thank you for putting some light on the topics as well as your experience. Now, having spent all this time at the event, you have spoken to various constituents, associations, and bankers and people from ICBA. Any key takeaways from the event?
Absolutely a great group. I think from a takeaway perspective and what might be constructive and helpful going forward is in terms of the two topics that you've mentioned, right, namely ESG and data. I think that for ESG, it's still a little further on the maturity curve, right, in terms of really what does it look like in practice? How do you start identifying your key metrics around ESG, right? How do you make those real? How do you dashboard them? How do you monitor them? And then how do you go ahead and report them? All again in support of their mission to take care of their communities in an optimal manner. Regarding data analytics, I think it's the same thing, right? I think it's really both a top-down and a bottom-up approach, right? The top-down is really the digitalization strategy and putting corporate will behind the digitalization initiatives. And then the bottom-up is really, okay, how do we make it real in our day-to-day tasks, our day-to-day lives, up to and including our interactions with our customers. These community banks, they have the data, and now I think they're well on their way to turning them into the asset that they are and can be. Right. So really looking forward to continuing to work with the groups. So the ICBA and then the individual community banks. Just a really great experience overall. I'm looking forward to Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have attended ICBA live events in the past as well. One key takeaway that comes out of every event like this of community bankers is their commitment to community. It's at next level. When I've been banking with large banks in the last few years, the touch points that the large banks have with customers versus the community banks would have with their customers is at a different level. And in fact, what we are trying to do, or we should do, and community banks could perhaps understand and acknowledge, is that the data can help them to make this thing which is their strength much better. Instead of just remembering in mind that I know this person, that person, but you could have data actually supporting your relationships to take it to the next level and convert that into money. Monetizing your relationship with data is something that fintech companies are doing, large banks are doing, and community banks could do. So their relationship with communities, their relationship with the people around where they are is something that always stands out in these events. One last thing that I would like to ask, particularly from your standpoint, Ania, given that we have spoken about takeaways and your experience, what will be your focus? Given you have been to the event, are you planning to do something about it, either education, provide new services that you feel are required given these topics, and what are you going to do?
Thank you, Yogesh. I guess maybe just to first back up a little bit in terms of the key takeaway. I did want to share the theme of the event. I believe it was all in and all heart, which I think really puts a finger on kind of the core of the group. It was also a phenomenal opportunity to celebrate all of the truly heroic work done by all of the community bankers through the COVID crisis, and pulling together the PPP programs and the implementation of them, and really being there to support their community in a time of very significant need and in truly unprecedented times. In terms of my next steps, right? Thank you very much for asking. I'm currently working on, along with the team, on a series of educational sessions around data-enabled internal audit, and in parallel, looking forward to working on a few pilots to upskill internal audit teams and to get them started on the road of a full population testing, quantifying findings, and supporting their boards and their organizations with a much more powerful approach, namely using data, which actually lines up well with the initiatives around innovation, digitalization across their banks. One more thing around the initiatives and digitalization. Dashboarding is here. It's available, and historically, this was just something that the big boys could do, and now it's entirely available, accessible, and the implementation is completely unrelated to what implementations used to look like. So really looking forward, definitely have a positive, optimistic view on what's coming for the community banks and their data and digitalization efforts.
Excellent. And, whether it's ACH audit or lending audit or mortgage audits, all these product-driven audits, if you can put automation into it, if you can make it data-driven, that can actually help the management and the board to take proactive decisions than reactive decisions with continuous auditing and other mechanisms. I think that would significantly help the banking community. So, Hania, thank you for this session. I'm glad that you enjoyed ICBA live event. I'm also glad that we have specific key takeaways and specific action items. So we'll continue interacting with community bankers, and we will continue these conversations based on what we just spoke. So look forward to continuing discussions on ESG, data-driven audit, innovation, as well as we will obviously touch upon agricultural lending, which is one of the products that they sell. But I look forward to continuing all this discussion in the remaining part of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh. Thank you as always for having me, and all in all heart.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.